I struggle with this, and I always like to talk to dads about this. Where are you at with AI and putting kids on camera? Because I don't know if you've dug into this, but it's a disgusting where they're taking kids, even just one picture, and they'll create a video. Have you dived into that? Have you thought about that? Like, what's your struggle there?
So I have a little bit.
Funny how.
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a
Like, I'm trying to embrace that because I'm sure you can relate. Just being a dad, it's like that's kind of the thing that you didn't really think it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's when you think late nights, you're thinking, oh, late nights, no big deal. Like I've partied till 2 a.m. and woke up at 7 a.m. to go to work. But
Yep.
when you party with that 6-month-old,
Mm-hmm. They're brutal.
woo, it's a different type of non-sleep you're getting. It is insane. So
Yes.
I want to embrace that when it comes to human dad. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
I love that.
But tell me quick, and again, I'm going to leave all the your links and everything in the description below.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's Gerod, right?
So it's actually Gerod.
Gerod. I love it.
Gerod. Dude, my parents wanted me to struggle. I have four brothers, and I have a twin, and his name is Guy. It's very easy to when he like introduces himself to people, but when I introduce myself, I will always get back someone thinking I say Garrett or Gerard. They call me lots of different things,
It's each
and
yeah.
I respond to everything now just because I'm like, I don't want to correct people. I'm sorry.
Dude, your twin had it made. Like I call people Guy just because.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm saying, hey, what's up, Guy?
And it's a family name too, and of course, because he was born first, he got to have the family name. So
He got it. And what were you, like, couple seconds after?
it was by 1 minute, one minute apart. Yep.
That's crazy. That's so funny. Garrett, I love it. So tell me quick your origin story, man, because I know, I've been following you for a while. So thanks, for hopping on. I know you got a lot going on, and you got a second kid running around. You got 2 of these things, which is insane. I couldn't imagine.
Do. Yeah. Yeah, man. So I've always been pretty passionate about social media. I have a background in graphic design, photo and video, and I actually work full time for a university leading the organic social media strategy for them. And so this whole social media thing that I do is kind of in addition to all these other things that I'm super passionate about. And it really started by me trying a bunch of stuff on social media. So I had previously been posting a lot for my photography account, and I was booking clients through social. And it did all right. And I was still just trying to find that thing that I was like, what really do I want to share with the world? What's the thing that I'm like most passionate about? And man, like when I had my son, or my wife had our son, I had always wanted to be a father, and that moment when it actually happens, it was just, absolutely life changing for me. And I knew from that point on, I was like, this dad thing is something that like was meant for me. I love being a father. I make it my whole personality, like all the time. And so I started to kind of share some of that experience on social, and had a few things kind of hit and kind of go. And I was kind of implementing some of the social media best practices that I know working in the industry that I'm in.
Sure.
And those have definitely helped me a lot. But I know that there are so many people out there that maybe can resonate with what I'm going through, like as being a dad who wants to be super present and active. And I think that's just a whole like millennial shift too, of like, I'm a younger millennial, and we hear a lot now that millennials are trying to kind of break those things that have happened like previously with parenthood. And so, yeah, I just want to be the best dad I can be, and share that with people so that they can kind of take from it.
That's beautiful, man, and well said. I think we have a lot in common when it comes to that as well, because my wife, she was in childcare for a long time. She was at Primrose for almost a decade, and went to school for it and really just loved it. And then we had the conversation when we got married, and I was like, yeah, for sure. I want kids. Yeah. But, in the back of my head, I'm like, never. I'm having too much fun. This is way too much fun. We're traveling. We're having fun. And at the time, I worked for a big Fortune 500 company, and I was traveling every weekend. And I was like, I couldn't imagine doing that with a kid. It's just like, this is way more fun. Then we started trying, and for whatever reason, we just couldn't get pregnant. We both got tested. My boys were swimming fine. Her eggs were hospitable, but for whatever reason, just, we weren't matching. We matched in every way except that biologically, unfortunately. So we went through the whole process, IUIs, IVFs, and we did 3 IUIs, 2 IVFs.
Wow.
And the second IVF took. So this is about a 3-year span. And I've dealt with some health scares in between that, but it was a rough 3-4 years. And I still wasn't really excited. But like you said, when that baby came out, I don't know what happened, dude. I bawled like a baby. I got it all on video. Bawled like a baby, and it forever changed me because I think it was the whole frustration of not being able to get pregnant, where it's you kind of build up this barrier of you want to protect yourself and be indifferent about it. My wife, definitely the opposite. She's distraught. She's just, it was killing her every day. And she's doing shots and these hormones and all this. And me, I was kind of I got to be strong. So I'm in the back of my head, I'm we're not going to have a kid. It's just not, we're going to have to adopt. We're going to have to figure it out because I'm trying to protect myself as well. So that way I could be there for her. But when that kid came out and it was real, that was it just changed everything for me. It all came flooding where it's people have kids just to have them. For tax breaks. They don't even realize it's so difficult for millions of people all over the world. And when you do have a kid, it's so difficult and so challenging because you have to juggle so many things and the financial stress and the mental stress. And there's just so many things that people take for granted when you just go around and have a one-night stand and not use protection, thinking that it's not going to happen to you. And then it happens to you well, I guess I'll live my life and have a kid. It's there's people that pray every day to have a kid and they can't.
Right.
And then all that emotion came flushing to me. And when that girl popped out, I was just the next day, my content changed, my whole attitude, my whole strategy, my podcast, everything completely shifted in the best way possible. Because like you said, it's, there is nothing I think better than being a parent, because when you look at the long-term effects of what we're doing, if you do it the right way, which is raise these little humans, you are literally raising a person to be a member of society, hopefully in a good way. And it's such a huge responsibility, and there's no job you can ever clock into that's going to compare to that. And being present, I think, like you said, is such a great point, because I'm a millennial too. I think I'm turning 40 in a couple weeks, but I'm definitely that, where I would rather make $50,000 a year and be home with my kid 24/7 than make 200 and be away for 1 day a week.
Right.
It's just a different shift. And I have a lot of friends that have kids that drop their kids off childcare, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they drop their kids off childcare and, 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, you're not with your kid. And then you get back and you get a couple hours, dinner, they go to bed, and that's it. And that's going to be like that for, whatever, I don't know, 15 years. Right. And I'm just, with the health scares that I have with the whole IVF thing, it's it's so rare to me that now I have, I think, a better appreciation for it than when I did when we were even trying, because it's, you go from not wanting this thing to having this thing. And there's nothing more important than that thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not to rub it in, because I know you just went back to work from
Well, no, you're good. I am very lucky with the job that I work, that I do have some remote days. And so being able to be home is incredible.
That's awesome.
Being able to work, but also have these breaks where I get to see my kids and be there for my wife as well. So
that's so cool. Yeah. And is your wife staying home, or is she working as well?
No, she would, come yell into the mic she would never want to be a stay-at-home mom. And that's not for any like specific reason other than the fact that she has her dream job. She is a NICU nurse at one of the
Oh, cool.
best hospitals in the nation.
Wow.
And she is so good at her job. And like I take every opportunity I can to tell people that she is a nurse in the
Yeah,
NICU,
that's awesome.
because she's just, she's doing some amazing work and she loves her job. So,
Well, and I mean, the fact, obviously, that's a profession that you can hold on a pedestal and be proud, like if you're working there, you know, like I
right.
would imagine if she worked, you know, at the cook line at McDonald's, probably she'd want to be a stay-at-home mom. But the
Yeah.
fact that she has such a job, and that's a rarity too. I mean, that's I talked to my wife included, where she always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but you know, we're at the point now where she has to work,
Mhm.
and you know, that's unfortunate. We're trying to get away from that a little bit, but yeah, it's just one of those things where this is where I think our country, there's some opportunity that needs to be
Mhm.
looked at, and I think they are looking at it, but I think moms should have that option if they want to be a
Oh,
stay-at-home mom.
yeah,
In,
100%. And
in terms
I'm
of like
even
the financial aspect
yes.
of it, where it's like we should be incentivized like other countries, because it's just not fair that it's actually the opposite. Like you're incentivized if you go to
Right.
work, right? Like
Yep.
versus, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, like you should get bigger tax breaks. There should be some sort of incentive. I mean, I think it should be something along the lines of, you know, if you were a caretaker for like, you know, your spouse in your 60s, and your spouse, let's say, is a 70-year-old, I forget the break, but I think there's some sort of incentive where if you're the caretaker and you're the spouse, you get like $1,000 a month to take care of it instead of putting
Mhm.
your spouse in a home.
Yeah.
So there should be something set up to where it doesn't have to be 50 grand a year to be a stay-at-home mom, but you look at like the cost of childcare, I'm sure you know, it's, you know, 30 grand a year, 40 grand a year for a kid.
Yeah.
So you would literally have to make at least that working at a
Mhm.
job and then some, or you could just have, you know, these women that want to be a stay-at-home mom could just be a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad and be able to have that incentive. And it's just not fair, because I feel like it's a win-win for the country, because if you're able to raise these humans,
Mhm.
you know, in such a great way where it's, studies have shown mom and dad raising the kid is just better than a stranger. It's just a fact. And unfortunately, we're just not set up in a situation like that. And I feel like we would win if we have smarter, better, more confident human beings
Mhm.
as they get older, especially when they go to school, where they have that confidence that mom and dad gave them versus kind of being pushed in a corner in some places, depending on where you go. And these poor
Right.
kids, because my wife used to do it, these, you know, teachers at these childcare centers, they were watching 20 kids, 30 kids at a time.
Mhm.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
That's not fair. And that's not fair to the person that's doing it, because those people don't get paid enough. Now, if they got paid a
Right.
lot, in so facto, like a surgeon, they would do a
Mhm.
better job. Like a surgeon's not going to want to kill you because
Right.
they know, ooh, I'm incentivized and I make a lot of money. I don't want to lose my practice, so I need to do a good
Mhm.
job. So there's consequences to not doing a good job. Unfortunately, with childcare, there is no consequences, and they don't get paid enough. So it's like, where's the incentive to do a good job?
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate.
Mhm. Well, and something you mentioned just a little bit ago, I would 100% be a stay-at-home dad if I could. Financially, we just can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think a lot of people assume when they watch my content. They think that I am, and I think that part of that is because maybe it's because I'm posting so much content, and they're like, "Oh, well, the only way you can do this is if you don't have a full-time job." And
Mm.
I'm like, well, I in the comments I'm usually like, hey, I work full-time, but I also am passionate about sharing my experience, so that's why I can do it. So
Yeah. And you do put out a lot of content that is impressive. I mean, aside from when I first started following you, I was like, oh, this dude's a stay-at-home dad. I could relate with this guy. It's perfect. And then once I got to know you and started talking to you, I was
mhm.
like, oh, so you're kind of like what I was before I started my content business
Mhm.
and this apparel brand. I was actually corporate America, worked at a
Yep.
job and had to do the content thing on the side. And it's a lot, and people don't give you enough credit for it. But how do you
Yeah.
double that in between? Like,
So that's something that, I mean, even just like with conversations with my wife, she will sometimes try to ground me because I can get a little carried away with wanting to do too much. And so, like, just like walking through what like some days look like for me. I'll work a regular like 9 to 5. I will come home and then I will try to spend as much time as I can with my kids.
Hmm.
If my wife is working and she gets home a little later because she's a nurse. I will have dinner ready. We will eat together. I will try to spend as much time as I can with my wife, and we put our kids down. And then, if my wife is going to bed, I'm usually staying up to either create content or edit for my. I have a wedding photography and videography business, so doing that as well. But then just like I find little moments though throughout my day where I can just have a thought of a piece of content and I will just record it and then save it as a draft. And it's like these little 30 seconds of my day that I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I just had this thought. Let me get it out right now. I'll do it, save it as a draft, and I can come revisit it later. But like being able to do those things has kind of helped me to push out as much content as I want to.
Hmm.
And yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's super exhausting. Sometimes I'm
Yeah.
up until 1 or 2 a.m. and then getting up at 5:45, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's just part of in my opinion, part of the grind. It's not healthy, but it's something
Yeah.
that I do right now.
Dude, it's so funny because we are literally the same person. My wife would be laughing when she listens to this episode because that's exactly how I am. Like when a lot of people, especially couples, if we were to take a 30,000 foot view and look at every single house in the country and zoom in on couples at about 7:30, 8 p.m. when the kids go down, both couples are on the opposite sides of the couch and they're on their phones.
Yep.
Me, unlike my wife, and she's probably hearing me, so this is true, but she is scrolling. She is doom scrolling. She is watching stitches of Blake Lively and her ruining her career. She's watching Kim Kardashian clips. Me, I am creating for 2 hours. And I'll find like a creator and then I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I'll go to my Notion app and I'll write down those ideas and I put that together. And like you, if I think of a quick clip, I'll hop in the other room. I'll do something real quick. Even if it's a trending sound, I'll just do the trending sound, save it as a draft. And that way I know I got to go back to it. And then she busts my chops every time. She's like, well, you're on your phone too. And then I show her that I have 22 drafts saved. And she's like, oh.
Yep.
And it's such a sickness. And I think it's the passion we have as creators to kind of, because it's definitely, it's a marketing play. It's a digital marketing thing, in my opinion. That was my background over a decade just in marketing. And it's this thing of having a message and wanting to get it out to people.
Yep.
So I think I always have this like creative flow going where I'm like, a good idea could be the video that blows up, and if I don't take advantage now, especially because everything is so like, topical typically, and, maybe it's a trending sound or something like that where you got to get on it. And if it's more than 20,000 views on this trending sound, it's not going to get as much traction as if it's at 5,000 views. So it's like, unfortunately, people don't understand that that's the urgency. And especially as every day there's new creators coming up, you got to be on it and you got to stick with it. And the second you don't stick with it, it's, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of trends that if you post a day late, like your videos, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you would have posted it yesterday when you had it saved to your drafts, maybe it would have done something.
Yeah. And how many things do you have in your draft typically that you don't ever post that you end up deleting?
Man. I have to delete drafts constantly just because they were ideas that I had, and I will go back and I'll sit on ideas for a few days if I have the time to do that.
Yeah.
And if I go back and I watch it and I'm like, either this is not going to resonate with anybody or it's going to be something that maybe is too controversial. Like I recently just made a video about, like, I think that everybody, if you were going to post something controversial or a reply or response to something controversial, do your video, get all your thoughts and feelings out in the video, but then just save it as a draft. Don't click post yet. And then sit on it, revisit that video. If you still feel just as passionate about it in 2 or 3 days, click post and whatever happens, happens. But if not, delete it. You got your feelings out and you were able to spare yourself maybe some crazy social media stuff coming at you later.
Yeah, that's such a great point. It's similar to how I started treating my marriage, where my impulse was to say one thing, and then I'm like, just go in the other room. Sometimes I go in the other room and I sit on the bed or the couch, wherever it is, and I say that thought out loud.
Yeah.
And I know my wife by now because we've been together over 10 years. Like, how would she really react to this? And usually, more often than not, when I say that thing out loud, I'm like, I probably shouldn't say this. But at least I said it and I got it out. And sometimes I think we think on social media you're not being looked at. But I've had videos, I'm sure you have as well, where I get a lot of hate on some stuff. And then you get to a point where like, do I delete it? Because then it seems like they're right. So then you keep it up, but then you're like, I have to mute comments. And it becomes kind of the bad part about social media that you hear about. So you do have to be careful. I've never thought of that idea. That's a great idea though, of just saying it, filming it, and then just keep it in your drafts. So
I think that posting social media, especially in 2025, you have to have thick skin as well. So like if you think that you're going to be posting stuff that could be controversial, you have to be okay with whatever type of response people are going to give you. Some of my videos early on, I'll admit this 100%. I was a little too critical about like lazy fathers. And I was saying it from a place of all this content that I was seeing from these moms who we all know that moms are stressed and have so much that they're dealing with. We see lots of videos about the mental load. And like from that, I was like, if only they if the father of their kids would just step up and like do more, I don't think that this would be an issue.
Right.
And
So
I
it's
think
coming from a good place.
Yeah. And I always want to try my best to come from as like genuine of a place. I never want to do something specifically to attack anybody. And those videos though that I had made early on they went viral because they were controversial. It was me calling people lazy, and nobody wants to be called lazy.
Right.
So, and I will stand on the fact that still to this day, so many fathers are not as active and present as they should be. And I struggle sometimes too of finding myself being lazy, or my wife will actually like call me out, be like, hey, like you're kind of being a little lazy here. Can you maybe step up a little bit? And I think that's really good to remind yourself as a father. There's obviously things that we juggle, trying to be there for our kids, also trying to keep the house in check. There's a lot of things that go into that, obviously.
Of course.
But yeah, I think it all comes down to just like trying to do your best. And when you do maybe see yourself getting lazy or kind of just taking a step back from and making your spouse do more than what they should have to, you just really got to check yourself.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And again, I think this is where we're also fighting on both ends, male and female, where there's this stigma attached to both genders and both roles. And it's interesting because we've had this shift, right? Where it's like before, when we were kids, the dad needs to work 3 jobs, never be home with the mom and the kids. The mom needs to do everything, cook, clean, do all that. And that was okay. That was not taboo. That was the way it should be because men protect and support, women provide. This is how it was. Now it's like the opposite, where women want to work, which is a fantastic thing, and as they should. But men also want to work because they're still instinctually, they have that DNA. So then both of us end up having this drive and this passion to work and support our family, our kids. But then sometimes we forget, what about the kids? Where do they fall in the mix? And I think that's where you have to have a balance in a marriage. And of course, the perfect solution is let's just, move to Europe and we all get, 30 grand a year household income, but it only costs us $15,000 to live and we have free healthcare. But of course, there's a lot of negatives when it comes, to that side of the fence too. There's pros and cons with everything. But I think finding a happy median to where we also have to fight the battle of like, there's so much cool shit out here. Like
hmm
there's the new iPhone and there's Netflix and HBO Max and Peacock and like all this money that we're spending. When I had a couple health scares, I had a tumor in my lung,
hmm
and it just made me question like life as a whole, like in general.
Yeah.
And this was like as we're trying to get pregnant, right? So it made me think a lot. And when I came out of it, and when I healed and I started healing, we finally got pregnant through IVF and all this. Then I started realizing like, oh, I don't need to be stressed about working so much. I just have to stop buying shit.
hmm
It's quite a fascinating solution that really takes no work, because
Yeah.
if you just stop going out to dinner every week and spending $300 a week, right, on booze and meals and movies and all that, I mean, that's $1,200 a month. That's nothing to sneeze
Mhm.
at. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about your finances like that, now, of course, do we want to have date nights and of course. But right now, the country, the way it's in with inflation and everything else and all this cool shit that's going, you just don't have, you can't do both.
Yeah.
Unless you make six figures, you both do.
hmm
You can't do both. And you have to make these sacrifices. But this is where it's like we've been pushed down by society, where it's like, get a house by the time you're 30, have a nice car, get a great job. You have to do all this and do this. And you have to have a big wedding, and you have to. Then you're like, wait a minute, let's just relax. Let's focus on what's really important. And I
Mhm.
found that just laying things out and realizing like what you spend time and money on, you can really change your life by just making those adjustments.
Mhm.
It's a very difficult thing to do because society has told us quite the opposite, which is
Yep.
like, you got to upgrade every year to the iPhone. You have to. It's got the
I've
new
se-
AI.
I've seen a lot of people now switching to Android. Even all these like tech creators are going
I've
from
seen
Apple to Android, and I'm like, my twin brother just switched to the new Android, one of the new Android phones, and
So you don't
it
talk to
was
them
like,
anymore?
I was like, dude, you're cut off. Yeah, gone. Nope, we
Green
can't talk.
bubble? Get out of here.
hmm
We used to share everything, guy, and now you've done this to me.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, and what is because I know, again, you just had your second kid. I mean,
Mhm.
what is, because my wife just keeps asking me about this, but she's like,
Yep.
are you ready? I was like, dude, we're just getting our sleep back. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, what was that thought process? How are you feeling now? Like, how is everything going on that? And is it much different? Because I hear kind of both things, where sometimes it's different, but sometimes it's like, it's not that
Mhm.
big of a deal.
So I think that my wife would have a different answer than I would
Mm.
give. Just because I think that sometimes, like, even just the type of people we are, things stress one of us out when it doesn't stress the other, and
Mhm.
like same the other way around.
Sure.
But I had actually posted before having Mila, um, like giving that call out, like, hey parents, like what was the biggest struggle going from 1 to 2?
Mm.
And I heard a lot of things. People were like, "Oh, it was a cakewalk. When you go from 2 to 3, it's much harder." Some people were saying, "Oh, 0 to 1 is way harder than going from 1 to 2."
Mm.
And then there are people on the opposite side of the spectrum of like, "Oh, 1 to 2 was a struggle for us. Like it was such a big life change that we just weren't prepared for."
Mm.
And
Wow.
so all of that I had in the back of my mind, but also this thought of like I would love to have 4 or 5 kids. Like I'm ready for this. Like let's go. And
You can't change your
it
username now. I mean, you're
right.
beige dad.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And so I think there are so many things that I forgot about when my son Wes was born. Like I you know that like overnights can be hard and like there's not very much sleep, and you
Mm.
can like try to think back and remember what that felt like. But then when it does happen again, it's like you're almost kind of hit in the face with it, like, oh, you were thinking about like what this could feel like. Let me like show you real quick like what it actually was like. And obviously it depends on your kid. Like we got very lucky. Like now she's a little over 2 months. Well, she's actually almost 3 months old now. And she's sleeping great, which is like, I don't want to rub that into any parent's face. I'm so sorry if you hear this and you're like, how could you? She's sleeping great, which is like, a blessing.
Yeah.
But early on, it was scary because she had some issues with her breathing in the hospital.
Mm.
And so those things were really scary because even just like medical differences in your child from and during birth can like change everything.
Yeah.
So like Wes was a pretty hard pregnancy for my wife, but as a baby, a newborn, no complications, no issues, was great. And we felt like, oh, this is kind of easy for us. And using the word easy is obviously not always the best word.
Sure.
And then when we had Mila and there were these issues of her having to be on oxygen, and we got home from the hospital, and 2 weeks went by of okay, we're feeling okay, we're feeling kind of like she's doing good.
Mhm.
We had to call 911 and rush her to the ER for a breathing issue,
Wow.
and it's like those things that like that made the start kind of difficult.
Sure.
Um,
It kind
but
of
then when
clouded
you're
everything else.
yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
else was
and
really important at that point.
yeah, but when we got out of it though, we were able to look back and being like, we're very fortunate enough to say that she's doing great now. No other like complications from that.
It's
But
amazing.
looking back, I'm like, there are those things that made that difficult, but I would say like 100%, like going from 1 to 2 wasn't super hard for us. Like I think that there were a lot of things that we did that we tried to prepare ourselves for.
Mhm.
And even if things didn't go exactly how we had planned, like we were able to kind of get through them together.
Sure.
So,
And you have a boy and girl, right?
hmm
That's like the perfect.
yeah,
Yeah. Obviously not planned. How would
Nope.
you have control over that?
Right.
But that's the cool thing with IVF is like they tell you, you're like, hey, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to know, they're like, hey, you got girls, because they take the eggs and freeze them with my boys, and it's like your own little petri dish of kids over there, so you can pick and choose.
Yep.
So yeah, we definitely, obviously, we would love to have a boy or a girl, doesn't really matter, but it is kind of scary because thankfully she's like getting good sleep now. I think she's almost, I don't know if she's going through a regression. I got to look on the Nana app, but she's almost 2. She's going to be 2 in August, and she was sleeping so good for so long, and then now she's kind of like last night it was bad. Like I'm exhausted. I'm going on 3 hours of sleep, but I definitely don't want to cancel on you because I've been wanting to talk to you for weeks. But it was rough. She went to bed at like 8 o'clock. Normally we start the process. We wind down at like 7, and we'll toast her out at like 8:30 at the very latest. And her window is long because she usually wakes up at like 2:30 from her nap. So she's like, okay, no big deal. Goes down 8 o'clock, wakes up at 11. Normally puts herself down to sleep. Maybe we'll give her a couple pats and she'll be fine.
Yep.
She woke up at 11, and my wife never does this, but she came down because our kids' bedroom's upstairs. She comes down from upstairs to the master where I'm at, and I'm just kind of like in the dark waiting for her to like, babe, like shout, and I never hear it. And I'm like, okay, maybe she got a knockdown. It's fine. Midnight comes up, and I see her walk in the room, this silhouette, and I'm like, perfect. She got down the daughter. Turns out the daughter's in her hand.
Yep.
And I'm like, what is happening? And I get a little bit closer to my daughter, and her eyes are wide awake, like she is ready to go.
You never want to see that.
And I'm like, what is it? It's 2 hours of sleep. How are you this awake? And she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, all right, well, if you need me to tap in, I will. She's like, no, I got it. So she brings her to the guest room, tries to go to sleep. Fast forward to about 3 a.m., still nothing. Kid was like playing with blocks, like this weird.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So finally she goes down like at 4 a.m. and, we wake up at 8 a.m. And again, my daughter is, hi, daddy.
Yep. Just ready
like,
for it.
She just did not just destroy our lives last night. But that was the first time in I don't even know how long. So it's those nights where it's like, just the other day, we're like, oh my God, I can't wait to have another. Let's start trying. But then this morning, my wife looks at me. She's like, He's like,
Yep.
fuck this. Never are we doing this again. Don't you ever kiss me or touch me. Like,
hmm
it really does make you question your entire life when you have those nights.
Yeah, I mean, my son was like, we would say he like from being a newborn to he's now 3. He had up until he was about 2.5. He was perfect sleeper. Like he loved his sleep. Like he took 2 naps in a day, like more like further than what most kids do. Like when most people were going to 1 nap, he was still doing 2 because he loved to sleep.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was incredible. But then he had one nightmare about a wolf, and it changed everything.
Oh my God.
It went from like bedtime took a whole lot longer. His door now had to be wide open. And like from then on, every single night, it was like talking about the wolf before bed and waking up a couple times in the middle of the night, coming to get us. And he had never done that before.
Oh
And
no.
it was, and like even from 2.5 to even like now, like we sometimes are like trying to figure that out. And we're finally able to like, he is sleeping through the night without waking up and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just like a random thing that happened that we were not prepared for,
Yeah.
and for
Well, and you
it to
don't
happen,
and you don't know, obviously, the cause of it. Like, thankfully,
right?
at 2.5, 3, they're able to kind of form some sentences. But
Right.
now she's almost 2 now, so I mean, aside from maybe like she's up to a lot of words. She's up to probably like, I don't know, 30, 40 words. She says a lot, and she'll like
Mhm.
combine them together and
Yep.
and make some fun. Like one of her favorite songs is "Ice Ice Baby" by Vanilla
Oh,
Ice.
nice.
That's Dad's fault. And she'll request it. She goes, "Ice Ice Baby Spotify," because she knows
Oh,
I
wow.
say, Alexa, play Ice Ice Baby on Spotify. So
Mhm.
over the course of months, she says that, but just random things she'll say. But she'll wake up, and we obviously don't know. But then it's fascinating. A lot of parents know this, but if you're not sure, it's interesting when this happens because this is where you have to check yourself as a parent. I used to, and I don't know if you could relate with this with your first kid, but I used to just be so angry at the fact of like, why won't you go to sleep?
Mhm.
And because sometimes you watch videos and read books, and you're like, there's sometimes too much information is bad. So you're like, let's just figure this thing out together. Me and my wife were in the trenches together, because
Yep.
then we don't want conflicting ideas and all that. So we kind of like, we're like, why is this happening? Why is she waking up at a couple months? This makes sense. And then you realize these regressions are so important because they're learning,
Yep.
and they'll wake up the next day. Like she woke up today saying more words
Mhm.
during that brutal, exhausting night. And while they need a lot of sleep for cognitive function, they also will wake up because they're learning too much. Their brain is
Yep.
developing so quickly that they will literally wake up and not know how to express those emotions, or maybe they express them in a different way. And there's so much going on in those brains on a daily basis that we just don't understand. You can't comprehend it because you're 40 years old, but it's a lot, man. And
Yeah.
when you start kind of thinking that way, you're a little bit more empathetic. Not in hour 4 staying up, but
Yeah.
you still have to kind of question your life at that point. But I realize that where it's like, you're asking a lot of these kids, like you and I don't sleep 12 hours a day.
Right.
Like if they wake up at hour 6, you can't really be that upset. Like it's not,
Mhm.
that's asking a lot for them to be a perfect sleeper for,
Right.
the first 2 years of life. Did you find yourself like kind of having those conversations, or I think you guys use the Ferber method, right? Was that something that worked for
Yeah.
you?
We did the Ferber method. It was something that I actually didn't even know there was like a title to the method because I early on I just called it the 5, 10, 15 method. And so
Ferber
then
has a
I had
better ring
people.
to it.
Right, yeah, and I had people commenting on my video where I was like talking about what we were doing, and they were like, "Hey, this sounds just like the Ferber method." I was like, "Oh, let me look that up real quick." Oh, it's the same thing. And so really what we did was kind of a modified version of it, and I've made
Mm,
several videos about it since because, and again, disclaimer, I know that there are a lot of people that are 100% against sleep training, and if they are, that's totally fine for them. I sometimes poke fun at people, and I'll say like, well, if you want your 8-year-old in your bed, that's fine. Like I would rather like sleep and not have my child come to my bed.
Right.
But yeah, we had a lot of conversations about it, and at the beginning, I actually didn't really. It was hard for me to stay consistent with it, and I was
Mhm.
struggling a lot. But my wife, knowing the importance of it, was able to kind of like, I guess, guide me through it as well,
Mhm.
as we were doing this with our son. And um, it's it's always a struggle to hear your child like crying for any amount of time,
Yeah.
but there is a lot that goes into them trying to like go to sleep, and I think it's really important for uh, these kids to self-soothe and try to put themselves back to sleep. I think that is kind of a skill,
Mhm.
um, and it's beneficial for them. And so being able to do that and try to find your own like version of sleep training that is like we did I think we actually did like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 12 minutes was our mark of like he would always go back to sleep at 12. And so
Really?
we knew that 12 minutes was going to be when he put himself back to sleep. And it was only a little bit of time of having to sleep train, and then he was like good sleeping through the night on his own. And so yeah, there's I think there's a lot that went into it. But even before we started sleep training, it was okay, our child is struggling in the middle of the night. Like, is there a milestone that's happening right now? Like asking ourselves, like, what's going on with
Mhm.
our child? Because it is sometimes it is like when we have a lack of sleep, it's your first instinct is to like be frustrated and upset at this baby or this like almost toddler. But and something I recently posted about that my wife loves to remind me, and I love that she says this to me. I think that there are probably other people that say it too. Is your newborn isn't giving you a hard time; they're having a hard time. So it's like as a
Ooh.
parent, I need to remind myself that of their my newborn is not intentionally like waking up in the middle of the night because they want me to struggle. They're
Yeah,
having a hard time. And as a parent, it's our responsibility to take care of them in those moments. So
that's right.
it's definitely something that I have to constantly remind myself so that I'm not getting too overwhelmed because I've only slept for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Dude, and it's even worse too because I'm so like infatuated with health.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a bulk of like my background as well as like on the daily. So like I do ice plunge and sauna, and
Yep.
obviously sleep is the most important thing you could do.
Hmm.
Getting low quality sleep, like less than 4 hours a day, is like having a brain injury. Studies have
Yep.
shown. Like literally, if you get a hit in the head, that's what having 4 hours of sleep is. It's horrible for your brain.
Hmm.
So that, to me, selfishly, I always think like nice, like last night, where I'm like, oh man, I probably shaved 5 years off my life. Like I definitely shaved 5 years off my life, and that's not far fetched. That's scientifically accurate, and
Hmm.
I cannot help but have that in the back of my head. And then
Yeah.
my other self beats the shit out of that person that said that and said, "Dude, you're raising a human. It's going to
Hmm.
be maybe another year. It might be tough, might be longer, but they need you now more than you need sleep."
Right. Yep.
It's just fact. Like when your kid is freaking out about a werewolf, you're not going to go up to the kid and say, "Dude, that's not real. So it's pretend. Go back to sleep."
Hmm.
No, you have to. There needs to be a different conversation you have to have. Like you just can't,
Exactly.
they don't know what a werewolf is. They're learning. Imagine if you found out what a werewolf is for the first time,
Hmm.
and it keeps popping up in this thing that you don't know what it is. It's your brain. It's like a TV in your head, and
Hmm.
this horrifying werewolf keeps popping up. That is terrifying. Like you cannot
100%.
just you can't tell your kid forget about it. What?
Hmm.
Like, I had this realization the other day when I was putting down my daughter and I was giving her milk because you're staring into the abyss and you don't know what is happening. And whatever reason, my brain just fast forward to like when she's 10
Hmm.
and the closet was cracked a little bit. And I was like, what am I going to say when she thinks the boogeyman's in the closet? That was a legit thought that came to mind. And I didn't know the answer because I'm
Yeah.
like, your first answer is open up the closet. Kami, there's nothing there. Like, why are you overreacting? But really, they saw the boogeyman because I know just a year ago, I thought I heard a witch in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 30. I know there's not a witch in the kitchen,
Yep.
but I swear to God, they were screeching. And I thought the first thing that popped in my head, there's a witch for sure. Somehow she got in the house and she's rustling around in the kitchen. That is an intrusive thought that I had. And I've been on this planet for almost 40 years.
Right.
Imagine a kid that's just a couple of years old. They are so dead ass serious, confident that there's a boogeyman in the closet. How can you talk them out of that? And that just came in my head, and I was like, it was terrifying to me, And you have to kind of have some empathy when it comes to that.
Yeah, I feel like parenting is having so much empathy because, like, there are so many things that our kids are going through that, like, we don't understand because we also can't remember what it was like being that little. Like, we don't have those memories usually.
So true.
And so how are we going to tell them that what they're experiencing right now is just, oh, this is like made up, so stop. But really it's like, oh no, this is probably very real to them.
Yeah. Well, because you think about yourself as a parent, just step aside for a second. Like, imagine how many times something goes in your head and, maybe you're out in the backyard and you thought you saw something like rustle around in the bush and immediately you thought, oh, coyote, or, oh, it was this, but really it was the wind.
Yep.
But you're able to kind of control that emotion and say, it's the wind. But to them, they don't know that. They don't understand that critical thinking or, that opposite view. So it is fascinating when you start to read all this stuff and do all this research, where it is a lot and it is a lot of work. And I think more of it is not being at least I'm trying to like put this into words, but it's not really like parenting. It's just being a parent.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we get caught up in like we have to educate and learn everything there is to know, but every kid is so different. And sometimes it's way more important that you're just there and you're just a parent and you're just with them, very similar to how like us men, I don't know if you could relate this with your wife, but when my wife is having a bad day at work, our first man thought, our dumb man impulse is like, we'll just figure out the solution. Here's the solution. I write it down. I give it to her on a fucking Post-it. I'm like, just do this tomorrow and you won't ever have that issue again.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Immediate argument, right? For sure. But if you're just like, oh man, that sucks. I get it. That's horrible. Tell me more. That to them is like a mental orgasm. They love it. They eat it up. And that's kind of you have to parent a little bit, is you have to just be there more so than like trying to give them the solution because they don't understand the solution aspect of it. You just have to just be there and get through with them. And, you think to yourself like emotionally how they can express to you what they're feeling. And my wife is Hispanic, so sometimes when she says something, it's in Spanish, and I get frustrated because I'm like, again, English, please. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, that is exactly how my kid feels. Right? Like your kid is looking at you like, wrong. I don't understand that language. Try something else. And we're speaking to them in English, but they just cannot express to them, they cannot express to us what's going on in their head. And they just don't have the words to vocalize their emotion. And that's got to be frustrating. Like, imagine how frustrating that is being a kid and your parents aren't understanding you. You feel like saying blah, 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 blah. You're telling them, go get my binky, bitch, but you don't understand what their words are saying. That's got to be killer frustrating. I just couldn't imagine. So that talk about empathy, that's the scariest part about it, I think. It's like you just got to wait, until they figure it out. And where are you at in terms of like milestones with your oldest, Wes, right? You said?
Yeah, Wes. Yeah. Like there are a lot of things that my wife actually, I forget what the app is called. My wife will track the milestones that our kids are going to be stepping into.
Nice.
But with Wes, I feel like we're at the age where, like, I know that everybody talks about toddlers, like, oh, terrible twos, or oh no, threes were really bad for us.
Mm.
And I just think that depending on your child, obviously it can be like crazy at every single age.
Sure.
But we're kind of in a phase where we're potty training still. He's 3, but like we tried it already. What didn't go well. We
Yeah.
didn't want 2 in diapers, but here we are, 2 in. Well,
Sure.
he's in pull-ups, but
Yeah.
so all of our focus right now is kind of trying to get our child potty trained before preschool.
Sure.
And so for
Have
Wes,
you guys
it's
tried
like,
the naked method?
yes,
Nothing, huh?
yep.
Oh.
My son is totally fine with just going wherever in the house if he doesn't have something on. So yeah, I posted some videos and had lots of people commenting, and I've been trying different things, and we're like, what do we do? Like what's the next thing for us? Like what's the next thing we try?
Sure.
Because there's so many things that we've tried to incentivize and still
Yeah.
nothing. So
Yeah, we're getting there. I got a shout out TikTok shop. But I got that sitting potty trainer thing. So I want to make a video on that soon. We're lucky. I think she's gonna any day now. I think she's gonna be good. And she'll be 2 in August. But she's weird, man. I don't know where she gets it from, but she's definitely. I think she might be ahead of it in a lot of aspects. Not necessarily sleeping or anything like that. She gets that from dad, where she likes to stay up all the time. But when we go to the bathroom, she says pee pee and caca, and she'll go in with us into the bathroom. And this was like when she was a year old. And I feel like that helped a little bit with her transition, because now when she goes to the bathroom, she'll say caca and she'll go in the bathroom and she'll just stand with, and poop in her diaper.
Yep.
So I feel like she's ready, but it's just one of those terrifying things where we're going to have to take like 5 days off and if I can do this
and just do it
and just do it and get it out the way. And I feel like, but also like looking on the other side, like imagine if we were able to, if it wasn't so taboo, like just shit anywhere. It's like shout out Wes, because Wes, I think he's living the life. Like why would you want to go in the toilet where you can just shit anywhere?
Go wherever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a bad life.
Yeah.
So what if he's so smart that he's like, I know what they're trying to do, but I don't feel like I just want to shit wherever I go.
And that's sometimes how it feels. It feels like he knows exactly what we're trying to get him to do. And he's like, you know what? No, this is so much easier. So
yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this till I'm 10.
Yep.
Well, I hope that solves its issue quick for you. But listen, man, I can't believe we're almost at an hour. That's crazy. I could probably do a follow-up episode with you because there's a lot more to talk about. One thing I did want to get into before, I want you to give a shout out to your socials so people can go find you. I saw a video today from Sean Ryan. He interviewed his ex-military, and this is a little dark, so people want to get away. It's talking about kids on camera. But he was given some crazy statistics on this, and I've been struggling with this for quite some time. So I know as you create content, which I know your kids aren't in every single video you do, but I struggle with this, and I always like to talk to dads about this. Where are you at with AI and putting kids on camera? Because I don't know if you've dug into this, but it's a disgusting fucking shit that's happening with AI, where they're taking kids, even just one picture, and they'll create a video and they'll insert a male that's 50 and they'll make a video with that. Have you dived into that? Have you thought about that? Like what's your struggle there?
So I have a little bit. I actually stumbled across someone's live one time where they were talking about something random, and their kids were in their live. And the comments that I saw in the live, I was like, if I had even one comment like this, I'd not be on live ever again. My kids would never be in any of my videos ever again,
because it was
just gross. And
it was so it wasn't like talking shit about the parent. It was
it was these weird, creepy guys asking for the kid to come on camera type of thing. And so I feel like that happens a lot. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, what am I going to do about, like, obviously as a parent, like there are things that we go on outings, like we do fun stuff, and
Sure.
I want to be able to showcase like what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm still kind of like on the fence. I obviously don't ever want my content to ever be like solely about my kids. I'd rather it be about me being a dad.
Of course.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that
Navigating that. Yeah.
if people are ever following me for my kids, I would say don't follow me.
Right.
Like if I never posted another single video about like that even feature my kids in it,
Mm-hmm.
and people want to unfollow me for that, like I would welcome that. Please, like, go away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to be here for my kids. I want them to be here for like me as a parent, sharing these tips, like navigating,
Of
like
course.
having kids rather than it being about my kids. And so
Yeah.
I've not seen anything on my accounts of anything like suspicious or weird. But I know that there are a lot of people that say like, well, it won't happen until it does, and then when it does, it's bad.
Yeah.
And so I try my best to limit where I can, like not showing my
Totally.
kids at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. It's definitely, you know, maybe a story here or there, or,
mhm,
you know, but originally, I mean, I even did a few podcast episodes with her because,
mhm,
you know, some of it I posted, some I didn't, because I just thought it would be cool, like looking back 10 years from now on YouTube and like watching
yep,
it with her. I thought that would be radical. But then as these, you know, years progress, and AI is getting more and more advanced, it is terrifying.
mhm,
But then also, like, you know, I take it seriously for sure because I'm in the space.
yep,
But I also struggle with it because what if I am at the park and some creep guy takes a picture and then uploads it to ChatGPT and does it on his
mhm,
own?
yeah,
You know, what if eventually we get to the point where like China, you know, does a video and photographs you everywhere you go, public spaces, private spaces, hallways, corridors. China is just all about surveillance constantly. Like they know
mhm,
exactly your social security number everywhere you go. Will we ever get to that point? If we do, can I control that? You know, what if I'm walking to the bus station or to the airport or something like that with my kid,
yep,
and she's getting she's getting photographed everywhere.
mhm,
That's my struggle. Is like, I think either way we're screwed. Of course, you want to limit,
yeah,
but it just takes one picture.
yeah,
You know, like if you already did it, it's already out there. It's done. It's over with. You're screwed.
mhm,
You know, and that's where I struggle with. Where, what if they do it to my wife?
mhm,
I mean, that could happen too. Like, it's not just your kids. Is it more gross than it's your kids? Yeah, of course, 100%, because they're kids. But
yeah,
what if your kid's 18? Is it gross? Yeah, of course it's gross. Like, so I don't know
mhm,
the age group. I don't know if it matters. Either way, it's disgusting. And hopefully our government gets on top of this,
yeah,
because if there's anything we learn from our government, they're the slowest fucking people on the planet. So
mhm,
like when it comes to social media, they were super slow. When it comes to privacy and data and all that, they're still not ahead of the game on that. And
right,
it's been 25 years since Facebook started. So hopefully they're a little bit more smarter when it comes to AI. But yeah, it's an interesting take. And I just don't know where to go with this. So I'm always asking for advice and reaching out to people, because I think people's first thought is, yeah, it's gross, you shouldn't do it. But then it's also like, okay, so am I going to tell my grandparents to stop posting stuff on Facebook too? Like,
right, yeah. Because I mean, I think there are a lot of people that I think I've seen some videos on TikTok of people saying, "Well, I'm not posting my kids on here at all," and then they also have like an Instagram that is for their friends and family, but it's also public, and has their kids on it. And it's like all social media can be accessed, and so for the people that want to not post their kids on specific platforms, you probably shouldn't post on any platform.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and yeah, so it's definitely like a tricky thing to navigate, because obviously we all would hope that there aren't these bad people in the world, but there are,
Hmm.
and um, you also have to navigate the fine line of like how much of my life am I going to like change because of these other people? Like, am I going to live my life always thinking about what these other people are going to do to me and my family, or like am I just going to live my life and try to take precautions where I can,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
I don't know, just try to be a happy person.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, where it's like, saying that your kids are safe isn't good for clickbait either. So it's like, let's say if there's 500 people out there that would do this, you're never going to know it. It's wherever you watch these videos and these people, it's that one person that it goes viral and millions of people share it. But it's like one of those things where, do we want to appeal to that audience, and do we want to like listen to that where it's kind of like clickbaity and maybe it's scare tactics to get clicks, or is this really happening? Like, is this a worldwide thing that's happening? Then if it is, then maybe our government should be taking advantage and doing something about it. So yeah, hopefully it gets there, especially when it comes down to 5 years. Oh man, what is AI going to look like now? It's woo.
Right.
It's crazy.
I think I'm kind of glad that none of my viral videos, I don't really think any of them feature my kids. So
yeah, nice.
That makes me feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, man, I love what you're doing. I love the content. You're definitely educating a lot of dads out there and helping us. So let everyone know where they could find you. Give them your social tags, and of course, everyone listening, I'll leave it in the description below. But yeah, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm at Beige Dad on everything except for YouTube. I'm trying to get into posting on YouTube, but someone stole my handle, so I'm at Beige Dad Fatherhood on YouTube.
Nice, those bastards. And if someone's out there that they own Beige Dad, just give it up, okay? You're not the true Beige Dad. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What's funny is he's probably thinking the same thing. Some asshole stole my Instagram, Beige Dad.
And his TikTok and his every. I'm like,
yes.
yeah.
But yeah, just keep doing what you're doing.